Hello YouTubes! Today we're starting a new project. You guys remember when I got this armoire and I rebuilt the shop? Got this big janky armoire with these goofy handles that spin around in circles. God, son of a bitch. Alright, that's why we're doing this project. Today I want to make this cool. I want to make some big bone handles. Have you guys seen my Nightmare Makers rigid foam videos? That's what we're going to use. I want to use this femur mold that I got, and I popped a couple out. You guys saw me use it on my tailgate video. I want to pour up some femurs and make some cool bone handles for this thing and get rid of this other piece of crap that's just dangling on there or whatever. And to do that, I went ahead at the shop and I made up a pair of these. These are just electrical conduit that, wires run through to connect fluorescent light to each other. And I went ahead and welded a nut to it. You don't have to use welding. You can just go ahead and put a screw through it, a longer bolt if you needed to. These guys are going to be the little stops and the rests that keep this little pipe down in the mold. So I'm going to keep this guy kind of suspended so that way I can use these big guys as handles when we pull them out of the mold. We'll shave them down, clean up, throw some paint and stuff on them. But that's what I want to do today. I want to have some big old cool bone handles I want to make for this thing. We'll do them out of rigid foam. We'll deck them out. We'll put some fiberglass resin on top of them to make them nice and hard, make them usable for over the years. And if I ever don't like them, I can always unbolt them, take them off, and put them on something else. Make them a towel rack or something. But I think it's going to be super cool. I went ahead and made a pair of these guys up. We're going to pour one up. So let's go to the table. I got some rigid foam mixed up, and let's get this project going. Okay guys, we're going to slap our gloves on, because this stuff's pretty nasty stuff doing fiberglass work, or doing rigid foam work. It wants to stick to everything. So I've got some pre-measured out. I went ahead and I dropped the little bar in there. Like I said, it's just electrical conduit that ties fluorescent lights to keep from drilling into wires and stuff. I put some holes in there to help keep the foam kind of held in place. I got it suspended about where I want it. So we're just going to drop that guy in there. Make sure he's evenly spaced out, end to end, because I don't know which end's going to be the top of the cabinet handle, which is going to be the bottom. But that should be fine. I've got my two parts. 1-to-1 equal mix. We're going to dump one into one mix and we're going to go. I'll pour the thinner into the thicker. Again, this is rigid 6-pound foam from Biddy Mold. It's the same stuff I make my Nightmare Makers skulls with. This is also a Nightmare Makers femur mold. I love this thing. It was great. It worked out great for my tailgate. So again, we're just going to mix this stuff up. It's going to look like nice warm coffee. You want to wait for it to kick. And then I'll pour it right in the mold and we'll see this sucker rise. So let's mix it up real good so I don't have no streaks in there. Alright, that's looking pretty even consistency. Once I feel that heat, I know it's time to go because this stuff does kick off heat and fumes. So once it goes, I'm going to back up a little bit. Alright, let's dump it in. I'm going to put a little bit of each end of the bone. That way it'll bite in and hold this thing down. And just like so, dump it in the mold. And I went ahead and put some silicone baking mats down, just in case the foam goes over. I got plenty there to protect it, so it won't get on the counter. And we're just going to drench it in. This stuff should want to kind of self-level. It's already starting to rise. Alright, let's try and get it all in there. Use it all. And hopefully, that's enough to fill up this whole bone trench. So I'm going to drop all this in there. Alright, we're going to let that sucker rise. I'm going to go ahead and center this thing now where I want it. I'd say about there is good. So we'll come back and take a look at this stuff when it rises to the top and see what the handle looks like as of so far. I'm going to tweak it one more time. Oh, you can see it's already coming up already. Wow. Maybe I mixed up too much. Ooh, okay. That's cool. It's falling over the holes. As long as it makes it to the top, we're good because this bone will be hidden. And we'll probably throw some body filler on there maybe and fill it in. You can also use wood if you guys wanted to use a piece of wood inside there and just screw into it from the back side. But I just went ahead and used some bolts and I welded them to that cheap conduit. So far so good. We're looking good. Alright, I'm going to let that rise and cure, and then we'll pop this sucker out of the mold and we'll shave it down a little bit and we'll go from there. Okay, YouTubes, so it's been a day. I let this thing sit in the mold overnight. We're getting ready to demold it. We went ahead, we put our bar inside with our bolts welded to it. That's what's going to give us our strength to use this thing as a cabinet handle. So let's go ahead and unmold this thing. I've got one done. This is my second one because we're going to make a pair of these for that armoire. So let me get this off. The sticks did pretty good holding the pipe at that that height inside the mold. This is going to take freaking all damn night. Come on now. And this guy was just a little spacer, just to space the pipe up and down. Should do this off camera. There, come on now. Okay, so these are just spacers. Let's pull this whole thing out of the mold. Just pulls right up like so. Here's our empty cast. Alright, we'll peel this guy out. Again, this is a Nightmares Makers mold. I got several Nightmare Makers videos if you guys want to check these out or pick up a mold for yourself. This is their femur mold, which is pretty freaking awesome. And just like that, we got a femur. And then they take the little jacket, wrong side, and we just drop it right back in the mold, and we're ready to make more bones. And we can always put another pipe in there, and you could use a cardboard tube for this. You could use a wooden dowel. It's up to you what you want to use. I just use steel for the hell of it. I like welding stuff. So we're going to cut these guys off, or tear them. These are just our little shims. So we got our bone. We've got the, I'm probably going to snap the bone. With these guys off. And then I'm going to take a little wooden saw. You could use a hacksaw. You could use, hell, you could use a belt grinder. And I'm going to take off all this excess flesh and round this thing out. I'm going to clean this guy up. And I'll probably beat him up a little bit. You know, again, you could take just about anything to beat on this foam and age it a little bit. You know, don't be afraid to beat the hell out of it, or get like a 5-in-1 and notch it up, or get some screws and poke holes in it and stuff. Hell, you could use just about anything. I mean, you could use a pencil. Put some nice little scars and stabbings in there. Some little hollow points in the bone. So I'm going to get this bone all cleaned up. Actually get them both cleaned up. And then I'm going to get this all sanded back so the handles are nice and sticking out. I'll shave off all the flash. And I'm going to black both these guys out with just 2X satin primer. And then I'm going to go ahead and we'll paint them up because I want to put a coat of fiberglass resin over everything to kind of lock it down. And you could use Mod Podge or whatever, it don't matter. I'm just going to go ahead and use the fiberglass resin because I like to use it, make stuff out of fiberglass. So when we come back, these bones are going to be black. We're going to have a pair of them. We'll paint them up. We'll get ready to coat them in some fiberglass, and then we'll get them on the cabinet and hang them up. So we'll see what they look like. Okay, YouTubes, so I'm back. We've got both our bones done. They are based out in Rust-Oleum 2X black, just as a base coat, no big deal. I want to start with a dark color first. They're good to go. Everything's been kind of sanded. I beat them up a little bit so you can see all the pits and stuff in the bones and the rough kind of texture. I think they're great. I think they're going to look side by side on the cabinet. I want to go ahead and paint these guys, and I am going to stain them. We're going to use the black as a base. Obviously, that's down. Could I paint them and go right to the clear? Sure, I could, but I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to coat them in fiberglass resin after we get them painted. I'm going to start with not so much a white, but I don't have white. I'm too lazy to get my ass to go to the store and get a can of spray paint. So I got this Rust-Oleum foam primer that I used on my, tree. I think I used some on Damien, my tree stump. I'm just going to go ahead and spray it right on a plate. It's kind of an off-white color, because I don't want to use a real bright white. And I like working just on a paper plate. I got a little chip brush. I'm going to spread it around, and then I'm just going to just brush this whole bone out. I don't want it stark white. I want it to look old. The fiberglass will leave like an amber color on top of it, which will be great. So I don't want to paint this thing stark white, but I'm going to go over everything. And you can kind of see how all the little textures and stuff gets highlighted in there. I'm real happy with that because we go ahead and stain this when it dries. It'll soak down to them little crevices, and then an amber fiberglass on top of it. Oh, it'll look awesome. It'll look like nasty old bones out of a crypt somewhere. So I'm going to go ahead and dry brush these out, let these dry, and when I'm happy with them, we'll come back. We're going to throw some Sedona Red number 222 on there, and they'll be ready to go ahead and encase these suckers in fiberglass, make them nice and strong and waterproof in case I one day ever take them off and put them on something outside. So I'm going to go ahead and dry brush these. When we come back, we're going to move on to stain. Okay, YouTubes, our bones are dry brushed. They look great. I'm real happy with them. You can see all the little crevices and cracks and gnarly stuff. Looks like somebody's been chewing on them. They're plenty dry. I got my stain here. I'm going to use the same dirty brush that I painted the foam primer on these bones. I'm just going to dip in right in that stain, and I'm going to cover these things. Doesn't have to be perfect, just enough to get stain on there. You want to try and get it all down those little crevices and those. It'll take the darker black color, it'll bite into it. So I'm going to let this sit for a little bit. Just kind of get it in there, let it soak in. And then I'll come back, and then I'll wipe. Okay, YouTube, so that stain worked a little too damn good. Now the bone's a little too dark. So I'm going to go right back to the drawing board. I'm going to take my foam primer. I'm just going to spray it right on the paper plate. Ooh, that's a dust cloud. I'm going to take them same nasty brush I stained with, and I'm just going to dip in. I'm going to go back and highlight, just so I get a little bit of brightness on these bones. It's okay, because the fiberglass color is going to leave an amber film over everything. And you can finish these off how you like. If you like darker bones, redder bones, yellower bones, you just finish them to your preference. I just want to lighten them up a little bit to show off all the detail of all the little gnarly bite marks and all the little stuff I put in there earlier when I beat the hell out of these things. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and finish these guys off, lighten them up a little bit because the fiberglass resin is going to darken them. And when we come back, we're going to mix up some fiberglass and we're going to encase these suckers in fiberglass. So stay tuned for that. Okay, YouTube, so I'm back. I got about 6 ounces of fiberglass resin poured in the container. I got the hardener I have not put in yet. The bones are ready to go. I'm pretty happy with that. We're going to encase these suckers right now. Could you go ahead if you wanted to and just clear them and put them on your wall or your cabinet or whatever you're using them for? Sure, but I want to go the extra step and just play around and see what happens. So I got our fiberglass resin. I've got some Ranger Sepia alcohol ink. I'm going to put a couple of drops in that in there. Just see what happens. Ooh, that's kind of cool. And then just for the hell of it, I've got some of that bronze mica powder that I put in my monster bags and stuff like that. I'm going to put a little bit in that because it's metallic, just for a little bit of flash and show. It ain't going to take much. Just that little tiny bit. Ooh, that's way too much. Alright, just that little bit right there is plenty. Alright. That'll give it a little bit of interest when it's hanging on the cabinet and the light hits it. So we got our resin powder in there, we got our alcohol ink, time to add the hardener. So I'll go ahead and pre-stir that. 6 ounces, 60 drops, 6 squeezes, real easy. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's plenty of hardener. Alright, here we go. I'm going to brush these guys out. Mix it. I'm going to use the same old nasty brush I stained and I painted with. No sense in wasting it, just go ahead and use it. And you can see our fiberglass already looks like a cool caramel color, so it's going to make these bones nice and gnarly, so that's super cool. Plus I'm giving them a hard shell, so if I were going to put these outside over the winter time and put them on a building or on a car or something like that, they'd be totally fine through the winter and everything else. So I'm going to go ahead and dip that brush in there. I'm going to work on top of these are just silicone baking mats, so whatever dries on there I can peel right off. Go ahead and be generous with it, try and get it down in the holes. Fill up those little cavities. Ooh, it's kind of muddling our colors together. Oh well, we'll see what happens. If it sucks, we'll repaint it. Get up in here. I should just grab this by the bolts. The bolts are already taped off so we don't get anything on the threads, so. Alright. I don't want to go too heavy because I still want to see them pits and the rough spots in the bones. But I do want to fill them up just to basically encase this thing and make it waterproof and handproof. A little softer on the hands when you're working the cabinets and stuff. So maybe I have to do a little bit of paint on this thing after it's done, but overall, okay, I'm going to call this guy done. So I'm going to bring this guy forward, put him on the can. He'll be drying. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to brush out this other bone. And probably in a couple hours, maybe tomorrow, we'll come back and take a look when they're fully dry. We'll do our last touch-ups and we'll get them hung on the cabinet where they're supposed to be in final place. Okay, YouTubes, so the bones are done. The fiberglass dried. I went ahead and I just ran some steel wool over them because it was kind of like a satiny semi-gloss finish. I just wanted to dull that down, so I went ahead and I knocked all the fresh fiberglass resin down with triple O steel wool. Any old steel wool will do. Use a scuff pad, Scotch-Brite, don't matter. And then it was still a little bit milky because of the white, the the fiberglass that made the paint kind of run together. So I just went ahead and took some of my concrete stain. This is Rust-Oleum. The color is Sienna. Sienna right there. I've used this on my concrete skulls and other stuff like that. It's kind of a yellowy, transparent ochre finish. So I put a couple of coats on there, rubbed it in by hand, and man, I'm going to call it done. These turned out great. I'm happy with them. I'm ready to go ahead and drill out the cabinet. We'll put the nuts on the backside and hang these suckers on the armoire. So I'm going to go make some holes, and then we'll install these things, and we'll take a look at the cabinet, and we'll call this sucker done. Okay, YouTubes, the handles are done. They're mounted. I drilled a couple of holes in the cabinet doors where I wanted them, popped them in, threw some nuts on the backside. We're good to go. I'm going to show you what they look like right now. Done. I think they're awesome. I love them. They jump right off the cabinet. They're nice and sturdy. Like I said, they're just rigid foam. We cased them in fiberglass, did a little bit of paint on them and stuff. I think theirs are way better than those stupid handles that were spinning along on this piece of crap that broke off on me. I couldn't be happier. I went ahead, before I put the handles on, and I threw some bats up there I had. They were from Ross Dress for Less last year. I got 3 of them connected by chains for like, I think they were $8. So I put 2 bats up there. I used just some spray paint to black some streaks down, so it looks like old weathering. I blacked out a little bit on the candle behind the bone, so they kind of jump off the cabinet a little bit. And then with the old candle, the old handle holes, I just filled with little medallions from Hobby Lobby. They were like $2 a piece, $1.50, something like that. So these fill out the old holes, and again, I just went ahead and streaked with some black spray paint underneath them. So I'm going to call it done. I think the cabinet looks great. I'm happy with it. The bones turned out great. They're going to be nice and sturdy and serve for a lot of years and look creepy here. And since I got you guys here, I got a little announcement. When I was doing this project, I went ahead and made a 3rd bone. So I'm going to give this one away to on the channel. You guys don't have to be a subscriber. You don't have to do anything special. Just go below and write enter me. And probably around August 15th or so, I'll announce the winner on Cobwebs and Candlesticks on Facebook. I'll put the drawing winner there so that we already knows who it is. And I will send this out to you. So that way you can have your very own Cobwebs and Candlesticks bone handle. You can put it on whatever you want, maybe one of your projects at home. Maybe it'll inspire you to build something to put this on. So this is coming out to one of you guys. So if you guys get a chance, I thank you for watching. Go check out my brothers in a Trio of Terror, Vic Springson on his channel, or Dave at the Weird Kid Show channel. We're building non-stop up until Halloween. And probably beyond to get ready for next year. So man, I hope you guys like this. Man, I'm just throwing with this. It was a quick, easy project. It's got a lot of big impact. So I thank you guys for watching. Until I see it again, keep it evil, always. And I'll bring you in, we'll take a closer look at the bones. Alright guys, thanks for watching.